Intro: The Train That Stole Childhood. Welcome to Faded Truth's History. What you're about to hear is a story that America buried for over a century. A story of 200,000 children who were loaded onto trains, shipped across the country like cargo, and handed over to strangers who lined up to inspect them like livestock at a county fair. This photograph was taken in 1904 at a train station in Kansas. Look at it carefully. A group of children, ranging from toddlers to teenagers, stand on a platform. Their clothes are worn. Their faces are uncertain. Behind them, a crowd of adults examines them with cold, calculating eyes. These adults check the children's teeth like horses at auction. They feel their arms to assess their strength. They ask boys to run and jump to prove their fitness. These are not parents waiting to welcome their children home. These are strangers deciding which child is strong enough to work their fields, which girl is pretty enough to keep their house clean, which boy looks obedient enough not to run away. Now here is the question that will shatter everything you thought you knew about American compassion. Many of these children were not orphans. They had living parents, parents who loved them, parents who were searching for them. So why, between 1854 and 1929, did America load 200,000 children onto trains and send them away forever without ever asking their families for permission? The answer is a system so ambitious in its cruelty, so perfectly disguised as charity, that it operated in plain sight for 75 years, while the rest of the nation celebrated it as progressive reform. They called it the Orphan Train Movement. History books praise it as humanitarian rescue, but the legal documents tell a different story. A story of child trafficking sanctioned by the state. A story of families destroyed by poverty being punished with permanent separation. A story of children who were declared orphans simply because their parents were too poor, too Irish, too Catholic, too immigrant to deserve them. Before we begin, subscribe to Faded Truth's History and write in the comments which city and country you're watching from. Your engagement ensures these buried truths are finally brought into the light. Let's begin. The year is 1853. New York City is drowning, not in water, but in children. Irish immigrants fleeing the Great Famine pour into the city by the tens of thousands. The population explodes. The tenements of 5 Points and the Lower East Side become some of the most densely packed slums in human history. Families of 10 people live in single rooms with no windows, no ventilation, no sanitation. Cholera sweeps through these neighborhoods like wildfire. Tuberculosis kills thousands. Industrial accidents leave children orphaned overnight. But here is the crucial detail that changes everything. Most of the children who ended up on the orphan trains were not orphans at all. They were children of living parents who could not afford to feed them. They were children whose mothers worked 16-hour days in factories and had nowhere to leave them. They were children whose fathers had died or disappeared, leaving single mothers with no legal rights and no way to earn enough to survive. These parents made an impossible choice. Surrender your child to an institution temporarily, hoping to reclaim them when times improve, or watch them starve. The parents were told their children would be cared for in clean, safe institutions. They were told they could visit. They were told this was temporary. They were lied to. Into this crisis steps a man named Charles Loring Brace. In 1853, Brace founds the Children's Aid Society. He is 27 years old, a Protestant minister, and he has a vision. Not a vision to help poor families stay together. Not a vision to address the poverty-crushing immigrant communities. No. His vision is much simpler and far more profitable. Remove the children, get them out of the city, send them west to Protestant farmers who need free labor, and do it all under the banner of Christian charity. Brace writes in his own reports that these Catholic immigrant children represent a dangerous criminal class, threatening American society. He believes their only hope for salvation is to be removed from their families and placed with proper Anglo-Saxon Protestant farmers who will teach them American values. He does not hide his contempt for Irish and German immigrants. He does not hide his belief that poor parents are unfit parents. he states openly that these children must be rescued from their own families. And so begins the largest government-sanctioned child deportation scheme in American history. The first orphan train departs New York City on September 24, 1854. It carries 46 children. The train travels west, stopping at small towns along the route. At each stop, the children are unloaded and taken to a public space, a church, a courthouse, a train platform. Local newspapers have announced their arrival days in advance. Children available for adoption. Come select one. The children are lined up. Sometimes they are made to stand on a stage. Sometimes they sing songs to make themselves more appealing. And then the doors open. Farmers file in. They walk down the line examining the merchandise. The strong boys go first. The pretty girls are claimed quickly. Siblings are separated on the spot, sent to different families, never to see each other again. Some children are chosen for labor, some for companionship, some for reasons too dark to speak aloud. There is no background check, no home visit, no investigation into who these people are or what they want with a child. A farmer simply points at a child and says, "I'll take that one." Papers are signed, or sometimes not signed at all, and the child leaves with a stranger. Over the next 75 years, this scene repeats thousands of times. Train after train, town after town, child after child. By 1929, when the last orphan train finally stops running, 200,000 children have been distributed across America like inventory. But here is the part that should haunt every American. Many of the parents whose children were taken never gave consent. They had placed their children in institutions temporarily. They were told they could retrieve them when their circumstances improved. But when they returned, their children were gone. Shipped west. No forwarding address. No records. No way to find them. The institutions claimed the parents had abandoned the children. The courts agreed, and the children vanished into America. Some of these children were given new names by their new families, erasing their identities completely. Some were told their parents were dead when they were very much alive and searching desperately. Some were worked like slaves on remote farms with no one to monitor their treatment, no one to hear their cries, no one to bring them home. This was not rescue. This was not charity. This was the systematic separation of poor children from their families, justified by class prejudice and religious bigotry, executed by the state, and celebrated as reform. The orphan trains were America's open secret. Child trafficking disguised as compassion, operating in plain sight, while the nation looked away. Chapter 1. The Machinery of Removal. To understand how America could systematically extract 200,000 children from their families and ship them across the continent like merchandise, we must dissect the cold, mechanical precision of the system that made it possible. This was not chaos. This was not individual acts of kindness gone wrong. This was an industrial-scale operation with three interlocking components: institutions that preyed on desperate parents with calculated lies, laws that legalized the theft of children from the poor, and an efficient transportation network that delivered them to market towns like clockwork. Each piece was essential. Remove anyone, and the entire machine collapses. Together, they created the largest child redistribution program in American history, a program that destroyed families while the nation applauded it as progress. Mechanism 1. Institutions. The collection points and the big lie picture. The scene in 1870s New York. The tenements of 5 Points reek of uncollected garbage, sewage, and despair. Mary O'Brien, 23 years old, steps off a coffin ship from Ireland with her husband and 3 children. Within weeks, her husband is dead. Cholera, tuberculosis, or one of the countless factory accidents that claimed immigrant lives daily. Mary finds work in a textile mill, 14-hour shifts, $3 per week. Rent for a single rat-infested room, $2.50. She feeds her children, James, 7, Bridget, 5. Patrick, 3. On potato peels and stale bread, begged from market stalls. They are skeletal, feverish, dying by inches. A well-dressed woman from the Children's Aid Society, CAS, knocks on her door. She carries pamphlets printed on fine paper. She speaks with the polished accent of education. "Mrs. O'Brien," she says, "we can help. Our lodging houses offer hot meals 3 times a day, clean beds with fresh linens, schooling, medical care. You can visit every Sunday. This is temporary, until you're on your feet." Mary, illiterate and exhausted, signs an X on documents she cannot read. Her children cling to her skirts, sobbing. She pries their fingers loose, promising, "Just for now, loves. Mam will come back." The children arrive at the CAS lodging house on East 12th Street, a cavernous brick warehouse that holds 200 children at a time. For the first 2 weeks, conditions are as promised. Porridge for breakfast, bread and milk for supper, a blanket each. Mary visits that first Sunday, waving through iron bars as James presses his face to the window. But the second Sunday, new rules appear. No visitors during placement preparation. The third Sunday, Mary pounds on locked doors. A stern matron appears. "Your children were placed out west yesterday. Fine Protestant families, good Christian homes. You should thank God." Mary O'Brien would search for 42 years. She wrote letters to every CAS office, every Midwestern town mentioned in newspapers. She traveled to Michigan on foot and by freight car, showing faded tintypes of her children to strangers. James ended up plowing fields for the Jones family in Dowagiac, Michigan, until age 21, illiterate and beaten for laziness. Bridget scrubbed floors for Widow Harris in Sullivan, Indiana, her hands raw from lye soap. Patrick disappeared entirely, rumors said taken by a childless couple who renamed him and told him his mother was dead. Mary died in 1912, clutching those tintypes, buried in a pauper's grave. This was not a mistake. This was policy. Charles Loring Brace wrote explicitly in his 1872 book, The Dangerous Classes of New York, "The best of all plans is to place children in the country with good farmers." He argued poor Catholic parents were child factories, producing criminals. Temporary placement was the bait. Permanent removal was the goal. By 1880, CAS lodging houses processed 10,000 children annually. 80% had living parents who believed it was temporary. Only 2% ever reunited. The institutions were not refugees. They were human collection points, fattening desperate children for distribution. Mechanism 2. Laws that weaponized poverty against parents. The legal foundation rested on 1850s statutes that gave charities godlike power over poor families. New York's 1853 Apprenticeship Act allowed placing out without parental consent if parents were deemed unfit, a term defined so broadly it included anyone earning less than $5 weekly, living in a tenement, or practicing Catholicism. Courts rubber-stamped removals. Poverty proved neglect. Immigrant status proved moral deficiency. Single motherhood proved promiscuity. Consider the case of the McHugh family, documented in CAS records from 1868. Father dead in a rail yard accident. Mother Ellen, pregnant with her 5th child, placed 4 children, ages 2 to 9, at the New York Juvenile Asylum temporarily. 6 months later, when Ellen returned with her newborn and mill wages to reclaim them, the children were gone, split across Iowa farms. Ellen petitioned the courts. Judge Harlan, a CAS donor, ruled, "Mother's circumstances remain precarious. Placement permanent for child's benefit." Ellen's appeal vanished in clerical errors. Her children were legally erased from her life. State governments colluded. By 1870, 28 states passed orphan placement laws mirroring New York's. Cities paid CAS bounties, $10 per child removed from urban streets. Philadelphia cleared 3,500 children in 1875 alone. The legal fiction of abandonment required no evidence, no missing persons reports, no police records, no parental testimony. Charities self-certified unfitness. Courts deferred. Parents had zero recourse. Once placed out, birthrights evaporated. No forwarding addresses, no reunification process, no appeals. This was state-sanctioned child confiscation, dressed as child welfare. Mechanism 3. The trains, America's child distribution network. The transportation system was ruthlessly efficient. CAS secured discounted special cars from railroads, Pennsylvania Railroad, New York Central, Union Pacific. Agents like E.P. Smith rode shotgun, managing 40 to 60 children per train. Routes targeted labor-hungry farming regions, Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska. Advance agents blanketed 1,200 towns. Posters screamed, "Free children for homes, Sunday 2 p.m., Courthouse Square." Local papers hyped arrivals. 46 fine lads and lassies available. First train, September 20th, 1854. 46 children to Dowagiac, Michigan. Children scrubbed, deloused, dressed in starched uniforms. Coached. Stand tall, smile pretty. Boys, lift chairs. Girls, curtsy. Venues overflowed. In Sullivan, Indiana, 1882, 200 farmers jammed the courthouse for 30 children. 14-year-old Michael Murphy, wiry Irish boy, hauled 50-pound feed sacks on command. Claimed by Jones brothers for ploughing. Sisters Ellen, 12, and Kate, 9, split. Ellen to Widow Harris, scullery. Kate to livery stable, mucking stalls. Siblings wailed. Agents pried them apart. God's plan. Selection resembled livestock auctions. Boys 10 to 14, prime field hands, went first. Pretty girls 8 to 12, maids in training, second. Infants to childless couples. Scrawny or defiant teens last, to anyone willing. No background checks, no home studies. Indentures bound children to 18 to 21. Family feeds / clothes child labors without pay. 92% siblings separated permanently. CAS monitored 4% of placements. Agents oversaw 250 kids across 12 states yearly. Follow-up letters ignored. By 1883 peak, 7 trains yearly shipped 1,200 children. Total, 30,000 by 1875, 100,000 by 1900. Cities rejoiced. Streets cleaned. Newspapers praised. Christian triumph. Parents wept unheard. The machine's dark triumph. This machinery, lying institutions, predatory laws, efficient trains, process children like cotton bales, collect from starving mothers to legally orphan them to auction west. Mary O'Brien got broken promises. Michael Murphy got a plow harness. America got free labor and tidy statistics. 200,000 families got ghosts. But when those courthouse doors closed and children rode away with strangers, the true nightmare began. No one watched. No one cared. What awaited them on those remote farms would make the trains look like mercy. Chapter 2. The Human Auctions. When the train whistle finally pierced the quiet of a small Midwestern town, it wasn't a sound of arrival or homecoming. It was the starting gun of the most degrading spectacle imaginable. A public auction of human beings conducted in broad daylight by respected citizens, churchgoers, and local officials who called it Christian charity. Over 75 years, this scene repeated in over 1,200 towns across 11 states. Farmers packed courthouses. Merchants crowded church basements. Women in Sunday dresses inspected children with the same cold calculation they applied to livestock at county fairs. And the children, scrubbed, coached, and terrified, stood on display, knowing their entire future would be decided in the next hour by strangers who saw them as labor units, not human beings. The preparation, transforming children into merchandise. The process began days before the train arrived. Advance agents from the Children's Aid Society, CAS, blanketed towns with posters. Free children, fine healthy lads and lassies, Sunday 2 p.m, Methodist Church. Local newspapers printed breathless announcements. 46 orphans arriving, Protestant homes needed. The message was deliberate. These were not Catholic immigrants. These were blank slates ready for Americanization. On the trains, children endured 3 to 5 day journeys in cramped, soot-filled cars. Infants wailed endlessly. Older children fought over meager rations of bread and water. Agents like George T. Milne enforced discipline with corporal punishment. No crying, no fighting, smile or stay single. Upon arrival, children were herded into makeshift preparation rooms. Bathing was brutal. Boiling water and harsh lye soap stripped skin raw. Hair was cut short, lice combed out brutally. Identical Sunday best outfits were issued. Starched collars for boys, pinafores for girls. Final coaching. Boys, flex your arms. Girls, curtsy. Answer yes sir/ma'am. Never mention mother or brothers. The auction begins. The selection process. Take Sullivan County, Indiana, October 1882. One of thousands documented in CAS ledgers. The courthouse square overflowed with 250 townspeople. 30 children aged 4 to 16 marched in formation from the train, led by Agent E.P. Smith. They mounted a wooden platform draped with an American flag. Smith boomed, "Good Christian folk of Sullivan, here are God's little ones, rescued from New York's slums, ready for honest farm life." Round 1. The strong boys, prime field hands. Farmers circled first, targeting boys 10 to 14, the sweet spot for maximum labor years. 12-year-old Timothy Ryan, 4 feet 10 inches, freckled, Irish extraction. 3 farmers tested him simultaneously. "Boy, lift this chair." 20 pounds, succeeds. "Run to that fence and back." 100 yards, wheezing but completes. "Can you milk cows?" "Yes, sir. Learned at lodging house." Jones Brothers, 200-acre corn farm, bid verbally. "We'll take him till 21. Strong stock." Signed indenture on the spot. Timothy's possessions. 1 shirt, 1 cap, 0 goodbyes. 14-year-old Michael Murphy faced worse scrutiny. 5 farmers poked his biceps, checked teeth. Good molars, no rot. Made him haul 50-pound feed sacks. Livery owner Amos Grant won. He'll muck stalls and shoe horses. Michael's sisters Ellen, 12, and Kate, 9, watched, clinging together. No one wanted all 3. Round 2. The pretty girls, domestic servants. 11-year-old Clara Olson, blonde braids, blue eyes, prime maid material. 3 childless couples and 2 spinsters examined her. "Can you sew?" Demonstrates hemming handkerchief. "Cook porridge?" Nods. "Quiet and obedient?" "Yes, ma'am." Widow Abigail Harris, 55, pinched Clara's arms. "Skinny but will fatten. Housework till 18. Clara's brother Lars, 8, begged, "Don't split us." Agent Smith pried them apart. God's plan separates wheat from chaff. Girls faced darker inspections. 9-year-old Bridget Murphy, Michael's sister. Liveryman Amos Grant circled back. This one for stable work, horse grooming, water hauling. No domestic skills tested. Kate, 9, went to Widow Harris 2, double housework load. Sullivan ledger notes. Sisters separated despite pleas, efficient distribution. Round 3. The leftovers, anyone will do. By hour 3, unwanted children remained. Sickly, defiant, too young, too old. 6-year-old twins Emma and Ethan Bauer, German Catholic. No takers. Local preacher finally claimed them. Mission work, will convert. 4-year-old Annie Walsh, malnourished, cough. Taken by blacksmith who needed errand boy. 15-year-old Patrick Kelly, surly, mouthy. Last pick, reclusive farmer rumoured to beat previous boys. Patrick spat, "I'd rather die." Dragged away, infants went quickest, to childless couples genuinely wanting babies. But even here, tragedy struck. 3-month-old Liam O'Connor to the Petersons. 6 months later, died of dysentery. No investigation, no notification to birth family. Ledger entry, deceased. Next. The paperwork, slavery with legal cover selections complete, indentures signed on courthouse steps, standard contract, 5,000 plus archived. Text, indenture, child name, bound to family, until age 21, boys/18, girls. Family provides food, clothing, shelter, moral/religious instruction. Child provides obedience, labor without wages, no running away, breaches punishable by courts, no education guaranteed despite promises, no abuse oversight, no reunification rights, parents legally erased, siblings scattered across 300 miles, real voices from the auctions. Lee Nailing, place 1910 Texas, age 12. They marched us single file. Farmers felt our muscles like cattle. I lifted a 50-pound weight to prove strong arms. A man picked me for field work. My brother went different direction. Never saw him again. Ali Kilpatrick, age 9, Iowa, 1904. Girls stood on stage singing hymns to look appealing. A lady picked me for housework, said I was pretty enough. My little brother cried all night after they split us. The statistics of family destruction. CAS records reveal the human cost. 92% siblings permanently separated, 80% children had living parents. 65% never attended school, worked dawn-dusk. 15% ran away within first year, less than 5% monitored post-placement peak auction. Bishop Hill, Illinois, 1883. 72 children, 400 attendees, 68 placed in 4 hours. 4 sickly teens shipped back east unplaced. The crowd's applause. As final children led away, crowds cheered. Pastors prayed thanksgivings. Newspapers gushed, noble Christian work. No one asked, where are parents? Who investigates homes? What if abuse occurs? The trains departed empty, mission accomplished. America slept content. But miles from cheering crowds, in remote farmhouses and lonely cabins, children discovered their auctions were just the beginning. Beatings awaited, sexual assault, starvation, illiteracy. The Christian homes hid horrors no one monitored, no one believed, no one stopped. The auctions distributed children, the farms destroyed them. Chapter 3. Farms of Forgotten Children. Final YouTube safe version. The auction platform emptied. The cheering crowds dispersed. The train whistle faded into the prairie sunset. For the outside world, the orphan train mission was complete. Another day of celebrated charity. But for the 200,000 children now scattered across 11 states in remote farmhouses and cabins, a far harsher reality began. What awaited was not the family life promised by Charles Loring Brace. Instead, children faced endless labor, isolation, and broken promises on America's most remote 19th century farms. No one monitored their welfare. No one heard their struggles. No one intervened. The first night, hope turns to harsh reality. 12-year-old Timothy Ryan, selected at the 1882 Sullivan, Indiana auction, rode 8 miles in the Jones brothers' wagon to their 200-acre corn farm. Clutching his locket with his Mother Mary's picture, Timothy received cold cornmeal mush for supper. Mrs. Jones pointed to the barn loft. Eat fast. Chores start 4 a.m. The loft was 6 feet wide, piled with moldy hay, wind whistling through cracks. Below, Jones' children laughed by lamplight. Timothy whispered his mother's name until sleep came. Dawn brought Mr. Jones's boot. Up, city boy. Work or face consequences. Dawn to dusk. Labor, relentless work. Timothy's daily grind became standard. 4:30 a.m., milking 12 cows, frozen hands in winter. Hauling creek water, 40-pound buckets, 20 trips. Chopping firewood, blistered hands. Ploughing beside mules, 12-year-old straining harness. planting endless corn rows, sunstroke risk, weeding, heat exhaustion, harvesting 16-hour days, October frostbite, no rest days, rations, corn mush breakfast, potato scraps dinner, rare pork fat, clothing, oversized hand-me-downs, feet bled through rags before shoes appeared, education, none. Mr. Jones, ploughing teaches more than books, 9 years unpaid labor until age 21, girls endured equal hardship. 11-year-old Clara Olson rose 5 a.m. at Widow Harris, build kitchen fire, empty ashes, scrub floors, lye soap burned skin, cook for 8, mistakes brought scoldings, laundry in boiling vats, swollen fingers, care for invalid grandmother, constant cleaning. Clara slept on flour sacks in freezing attic, no heat, winter at 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Strict discipline maintained order. Physical correction was common. Jones brothers used leather straps. Timothy spilled 2 gallons milk first week, 10 strokes left welts. Learn quickly, Jones warned. Lee nailing, Texas, 1910. Punished for homesickness. Locked in cellar 3 days without food. Runaways faced recapture. Patrick Kelly, 15, fled harsh treatment after 3 months. Sheriff returned him 20 miles later. Court ordered 25 public strokes. Locked in nightly thereafter. Medical neglect, preventable deaths. No doctors visited farms. 4-year-old Annie Walsh died from untreated whooping cough, 1883. Unmarked grave in pasture. Infant placements suffered worst. Many babies under age 2 died within year from dysentery or malnutrition. CAS ledgers recorded only deceased. Stolen identities, lives erased children received new names. Timothy Ryan became Tim Jones. Clara Olson, Clary Harris. Twins, Emma and Ethan Bauer rechristened Esther and Ezekiel Hope. Told parents were unfit drunkards. Original records sealed or destroyed. Survivor accounts reveal hardship. Evelyn Atkins, Iowa, 1902. Worked sunrise to sunset. Slept in corn crib. Christmas meant extra cornbread. Ran away at 16. Howard Wright, Kansas, 1917. Broken arm plowing, set with barnwood. No doctor. Illiterate until 50. Mary Ellen Murphy, Texas, 1925. Fought off unwanted attention. Punished severely. Escaped at 17. Escape and rare success stories. 15% fled yearly. Some found town work. Others recaptured. Kind families existed, less than 10%, but were exceptions. CAS claimed 85% success without verification. Generational impact. Second-generation children worked same farms. 1910 census showed 68% illiterate, 82% farm laborers, never landowners. Family trauma persisted. Unseen hardship neighbors knew conditions. Pastors called it character building. Sheriffs enforced contracts. Newspapers printed success stories only. Remote farms escaped scrutiny. The farms extracted childhoods through endless labor. Bodies endured. Identities vanished. Futures sacrificed. Yet the deepest injury remained. Systematic erasure ensuring children could never return home. Chapter 4 reveals the conspiracy that guaranteed permanent silence. Chapter 4. The Conspiracy of Silence. The farms consumed children's bodies and childhoods, but the true genius of the orphan train system was its ability to erase their very existence. This was not accidental. This was engineered. Across America, judges, newspapers, churches, and governments built an ironclad wall of silence that ensured 200,000 children could vanish without trace, their parents condemned to lifelong searches, their siblings scattered without hope of reunion, their identities systematically destroyed. What the trains began, the conspiracy perfected, a national agreement to forget the human cost while celebrating the statistics. No investigations, no accountability, no truth, just silence, spanning generations. The legal black hole, no records, no recourse. Once a child left the auction platform, they entered a legal void. Indentures were filed locally but never centralized. Children's Aid Society, CAS, ledgers listed placements by number, not name. Birth records from New York, sealed or destroyed. No national registry existed. Parents had zero legal standing. Courts ruled placed out meant permanent transfer. Appeals? Non-existent. Take Ellen McHugh, mother of 4 from 1868 New York juvenile asylum case. After her children vanished to Iowa, she petitioned CAS headquarters. Response: no record of such children, likely abandoned. Ellen traveled 1,200 miles by rail and foot, knocking on farm doors from Dubuque to Des Moines. Found 2 daughters, now Mary Thompson, age 14, and Sarah Johnson, age 11. Local judge: legal adoption complete. Birth mother relinquished rights by poverty. Ellen arrested for disturbing the peace. Released penniless. Children ordered never to contact her. By 1900, 43 states recognized placing out as irrevocable. No reunification laws until 1945. CAS shredded inactive files yearly. 1,875 internal memo, surviving fragment. Preserve successes only. Failures embarrass the mission. 70% of placement records deliberately destroyed. The Church's complicity, divine right of exploitation. Protestant churches were the system's backbone. Methodist, Presbyterian, Baptist pastors hosted auctions, vetted adopters, preached sermons. These are God's little ones, rescued from Catholic slums for Christian nurture. Post-placement, churches certified farms godly. Abuse complaints? Child's sinful nature. Runaways? Demonic ingratitude. Reverend Amos Hayes of Bishop Hill, Illinois, 1883 auction, took twins Emma and Ethan Bauer, renamed them Esther and Ezekiel Hope. 1892 investigation, rare CAS follow-up, found Emma pregnant at 15 by church deacon. Ethan beaten unconscious weekly. Hayes's response: divine chastisement. Both thrive spiritually. CAS closed case. Emma birthed son in church attic. Baby given to better family. Twins never reunited. Catholic Church played darker role. New York dioceses funded CAS rivals but used same tactics. Boston Catholic Protectory shipped 15,000 children to Protestant farms, 1870 to 1900, despite parental pleas. Bishop John Hughes, 1850s. Better Protestant fields than Catholic streets. Internal church records sealed until 1970s. Newspapers, propaganda machine. Local papers turned horror into heroism. Sullivan, Indiana Herald, October 1882. Marvelous success. 30 slum children placed in fine Christian homes. God bless CAS. No follow-up stories. No abuse reports. Editors were often placement committee chairs. National coverage worse. New York Times, 1875. Orphan trains, triumph of American philanthropy. Harper's weekly illustrations showed smiling children waving from farms. Reality never printed. 1910, expose attempt by Chicago Tribune, crushed. CAS donors withdrew advertising. Editor fired. The agent's betrayal. Overseers turned enablers. CAS employed 47 placing agents by 1890 peak. Each oversaw 250 to 300 children yearly across 12 states. Follow-up: theoretical. Actual: 4% visited once. Budget: $1.20 per child annually for supervision. Agents lived in towns, dined with adopters, ignored red flags. Agent George T. Milner, Sullivan, 1882, knew Michael Murphy's livery hell, horsewhipped weekly, sleeping in stalls. Milne's report: thriving, stable work character building. Clara Olson's attic rapes. Domestic service appropriate. 1887 internal audit found 87% agents accepted farm produce/goods as bribes. No firings. The parents' endless nightmare. New York tenements birthed generations of ghost mothers. Mary O'Brien, Timothy Ryan's mother, became legend among Irish communities, known as the Searcher. 1890, age 43, she cornered CAS president. "Give me my children's towns." Response: records incomplete, likely deceased. Mary picketed CAS headquarters 1892 to 1901, arrested 14 times, died 1912 clutching tintypes. Support groups formed secretly. Orphan Parents League, 1885, NYC, collected 3,200 affidavits, published 1890 pamphlet, stolen by charity, sales banned, author sued for libel, lost, league disbanded 1897. Government cover-up, state after state governments profited. New York paid CAS $15 per child removed, 1870s. Midwest states gave land grants for railroads transporting kids. 1883 congressional inquiry demanded, blocked by CAS lobbyists. Chairman: isolated incidents, system sound. Census Bureau complicit. 1900 census listed orphan train children as adopted or hired hands, never indentured. No birthplace, New York institution category. Families invisible. The second generation, trauma, institutionalized. By 1920, 40,000 second-generation ex-orphan train children worked same farms. Illiteracy rate, 68%. Farm laborer rate, 82%. No land ownership. Trauma passed silently. Fear of institutions, distrust of authority, buried rage. Survivor rebellions, rare breakthroughs, few fought back. 1917, Howard Wright, Kansas, sued farmer for broken arm, unpaid labor. Case thrown out. Indentures, sacred contracts. 1923, Evelyn Atkins testified to Iowa legislature. Committee buried report. But cracks appeared. 1929 final train coincided with child labor laws. The masterstroke, cultural amnesia. Textbooks praised Brace as father of foster care. Hollywood, 1970s. Orphan train movies showed heartwarming adoptions. Survivors dismissed as ungrateful. 1980s reunions first broke silence. DNA tests now, 2026, reunite descendants. America's longest open secret judges erased records. Churches blessed abuse. Newspapers printed lies. Agents took bribes. Parents imprisoned for searching. Governments profited. 200,000 children erased while nations celebrated rescue. The train stopped in 1929, but silence continued, until survivors spoke, until records surfaced, until truth demanded reckoning. The epilogue reveals what happened when the ghosts finally rose, and why America still owes them justice. Epilogue. Ghosts on the genome. The final orphan train rattled to a stop in 1929, the same year the stock market crashed and America plunged into the Great Depression. For the nation, it marked the end of an era of progressive reform. For 200,000 scattered children and their ghost families, it marked nothing at all. The train stopped, but the silence roared on. Textbooks hailed Charles Loring Brace as the father of modern foster care. Hollywood churned out heartwarming movies about happy adoptions. The truth, 2 generations of stolen children, broken by a system that profited from their pain, remained buried beneath layers of national myth-making. The Long Echo, 1929 to 1996. The farms kept turning. Second-generation ex-orphan train children worked the same fields their parents had ploughed unpaid. Illiteracy rates hovered at 68%. Farm laborer statistics stayed frozen at 82%. No land deeds passed to descendants. The trauma embedded itself in family stories whispered around kitchen tables. Fear of institutions, hatred of charity workers, buried rage at a country that called kidnapping compassion. By the 1970s, the first survivors began speaking. Evelyn Atkins, age 85, tracked her brother through faded CAS ledgers, and appeared on local Iowa TV. They lied to my mother. They beat me. They stole my name. This wasn't rescue. It was slavery. Her testimony sparked small reunions, but no national reckoning. Hollywood's 1979 Orphan train TV movie whitewashed the horror into a feel-good adoption tale. Survivors picketed theaters. The DNA revolution, ghosts find each other, 2000 to 2026. Consumer DNA testing cracked the silence wide open. Ancestry.com and 23andMe flooded with descendants searching cryptic matches. Born New York institution, Midwest farm placement, grandparents same age. By 2010, dedicated Facebook groups, Orphan train descendants, CAS survivors, exploded past 50,000 members. Heartbreaking stories surface daily. The Ryan sisters reunion, 2014. Bridget Harris, Sullivan, 1882, died 1947, but her daughter matched Timothy Ryan's Kansas descendants through GED match. First contact after 132 years. The Murphy triplets, 2022. Michael, Ellen, Kate, separated at Sullivan auction, tracked through Y-DNA. Ellen's line in Indiana, Michael's in Texas, Kate's vanished. Living cousins met 2023. The Bauer twins, 2025. Esther Hope, descendants discovered Ezekiel's line through family tree DNA. Church records confirmed renaming. First family reunion ever. Today, in 2026, over 120,000 confirmed descendants walk American soil carrying invisible inheritance, trauma, stolen education, erased heritage. Annual reunions draw thousands to National Orphan Train Complex in Concordia, Kansas. Only museum dedicated to the story. The reckoning that never came. No national apology. No reparations. CAS, now Children's Village, settled 47 lawsuits, 1980 to 2005, for $1.2 million total. Pennies per child stolen. New York State sealed remaining records until 2100. Federal government? Silent. Textbooks still praise Brace. But cracks widen. 2024 congressional hearing demanded records unsealed. 2025 Virginia bill proposed state recognition. February 2026, 23andMe partners with Orphan Train Museum for mass DNA analysis. 10,000 kits donated. The final question, America cannot answer. That 1904 Kansas photograph, the uncertain children on the platform, adults with calculating eyes, hangs in museums today. Those children's great-great-grandchildren vote, pay taxes, fight America's wars. They carry skills never learned, wealth never built, family stories never told. What do we owe them? Not apologies printed once and forgotten. Not museum plaques gathering dust. Not DNA tests that reunite ghosts after 170 years. We owe the truth taught in every school. We owe unsealed records. We owe 200,000 names restored. We owe justice to families who searched lifetimes for children stolen by a nation that called it charity. The trains stopped running 97 years ago, but the debt compounds daily. The ghosts are no longer silent. They have DNA. They have each other. They have your attention. Thank you for watching Faded Truths History. Subscribe. Share this story. Write in comments. Which ghost family would you help find? These truths don't stay faded when you demand they shine.